Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is
Joseph Arthur Clarke.
it's quick on the response there because I prepped you for it. Who are you? What do you do?
I am a software designer. That can't.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
not.
I
That's
mean
not
that's
fair.
the closest thing.
Yeah. I'm an inventor. We'll say that I'm an inventor.
Sure.
Been working in software for most of the past couple of years, but I'm familiar with quite a few different media.
Yeah. I mean that's we'll get into why that's so hard to explain.
Yeah.
But first, how do we know each other? Because we're doing this in person.
Yeah. We met through a mutual friend of mine. You were, doing the power cycle thing in the band with him for a time, and I was just kind of beginning to try and figure out if my soon-to-be boss's daydream could be actually translated into a workable device, and he thought that I was the guy to come to for that. So
yeah. And so there were many days a couple of years ago where we'd just be like sitting in the same room and having these vast conversations.
Oh yeah.
And that I was like, this is exactly the kind of person I need on BitDev. So okay, why is the thing that you do so hard to explain?
The thing that I do is difficult to explain because it takes a lot of visualizations and subtle understanding of, like, you have to be able to break a problem into its many different layers. You have to think in terms of you have to be able to think conceptually. You have to be able to think logically. You have to leave yourself open to kind of new ideas and try not to get tied down into conventions. It's difficult because a lot of the time I find myself having to even invent the software tools to be able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think naturally that's going to be very difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
Also, I tend to be kind of an abstract individual in my day-to-day thinking anyway, so it's sometimes difficult for me to there's not enough words. Our words, they're not specific enough for my liking. They're not granular enough for my liking. That's...
Even with the English language, as vast as it is, there's still not enough. And yeah. So I guess there's still also lots of other experiences that you've had that have close to nothing to do with this software thing. So I guess, like, tell me a little bit about the arc of
okay, yeah.
where you're from. And
yeah, sorry about that. I get locked up into what I've been doing recently. It's not like the rest of it's forgotten, but I have to kind of reorient, into past iterations, basically. I'd spent the majority of my adult life as a cook, chef, depending on who you talk to at various points. But even then, that was always just something I loved doing, because there's to me there's few things that are like as old or like as human as like feeding each other. And so that was actually the motivation for the majority of that. I treated it like my career, and to like people who knew me only through that, they thought that was my career. But for the entirety of my life, I've been no matter what I'm doing to subsist, I've always been oriented to try and towards trying to distill phenomena into something I want to say essential, but that's not the word, because I know that there's so many things attached to that word. I don't know. I've wanted to perfect my ability to absorb new information. That's really what a lot of my motivations have stemmed from. So because of that, I've done a lot of things. I've done tree trimming. I've done, the culinary side of things. I've done a little bit of like bouncer, stuff as a bouncer, because you wouldn't know it based on my resume, but I'm actually kind of an imposing individual in person. So yeah, I've just, in addition to all the time spent in like bookstores, libraries, wandering around in the dead of night, talking to myself, you know what I mean? The experiences have been varied. So I've just kind of always done what I needed to do to survive. But as far as who I am and where I've been and what I do, the category is too broad to sum up easily, you know? Yeah.
I guess in some ways I could say artist.
Yeah. Capital A, if you will.
Yes. But like whatever limitations people might put on that word, get rid of them.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. To me, an artist, and really this ties a lot into something we've discussed before, my interest in the occult, you know, the occult art. If I say capital A art or capital A artist, it's a code word for the occult and an occultist. And it's really, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about what the occult is, thinking that which is hidden or whatever, you know, an obvious reference to the etymology behind it's the word itself. They think that it's things that are hidden because they're like dark or scary or spooky, or like they think of secret organizations with hoods and daggers and all this shit. But really, when they say what is hidden, they meaning the things that you have to read between the lines for, the things that your senses are not going to tell you. You know, it's learning to watch for subtle shifts in the flow of attention in a room. It can be the intonation someone's using when they speak. It can be like the collective kind of drone of an entire crowd speaking. There's even pitch shifts in that will tell you subtle information about the room. For me, to be an artist, and you know, they always, you know, as a visual artist especially, they always tell you that the hardest thing about becoming an artist is learning how to see. And that's true for visual art, but that's even more true for things like the occult, because it's you're having to like basically engineer new faculties, new cognitive faculties to try and like apprehend the world around you. So if anyone were to call me anything, I would hope that it would be artist.
Sure. A thing that I feel like I keep saying on this podcast is just the sentence: systems have emergent properties that cause trends within those systems.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, that's recursion. Like, that's recursion. Sorry.
Yeah, and so like the thing that you're describing about seeing the places, the spaces in between the lines, seeing all of that is kind of an important theme to acknowledge, that everything has something in between, and every system has, again, emergent properties that occur, and whatever system that you're looking at, whether it be just visual art or whether it be a Western musical notation system, each of these has emergent properties based on the fundamentals that we've grounded. And so like the stuff that you're talking about is kind of all encompassing on that, but also like everything in between those emergent properties as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, the phrase turtles all the way down. It's interesting to me, but turtles all the way down, the phrase gets used in Western, you know, narrative to kind of make things seem absurd, or to like to belittle ideas, saying, oh, that's, you know, it's circular. It's, you know, it's baseless. But when in reality, the original, like the meaning of the phrase turtles all the way down, or that concept was just a statement about the nature of reality itself. You know, it was the idea that that's an absurd association is an entirely Western fabrication. Not only that, but an entirely like contemporary Western fabrication. You know, there's something there is something absurd, and the level of detail that emerges the deeper into something you look there, that is absurd. I mean, it's never ending, you know. To a point, I guess. I mean, you know, the materialists, like, okay, the materialists I am willing to speak to will say would consider something like Planck's length as like, you know, the lower limit of what's possible as far as observation. But even then, like there's so many things about this universe and how it functions that we are not aware of. And I think that we can incorporate our understanding as it stands and still leave room for whatever else there might be. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's interesting to me that you use the word systems, because a lot of this, I wasn't always this way. I mean, I've always been kind of, I like to think about the world around me. I spent too much time in the libraries, had more books than free time, had more free time than friends when I was a child and stuff. You know what I mean? But it was largely an interest in abstract mathematics that got me into this line of thinking to begin with. I found a book about the origins of the Santa Fe Institute, which is like an honors. I don't know. Hold on. I'm not. It's an institution somehow attached to the academic world, but it's dedicated. It's like a postdoctoral institute for studying complexity and dynamical systems. They're the ones who kind of pioneered what we think of now as dynamical systems theory. That was their doing. And so getting into finding that book and really starting to get into them, I started reading more Douglas Hofstadter. I started reading Oliver Sacks, other figures like this that are talking about. Dan Dennett,
Yeah,
another one. The Mind's Eye was life-changing for me. There's just, there was a period of about 3 years where I got into math, and then math made me stranger.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so, I don't know, like, why? Why did you start there? What drew you to it?
There was an individual I knew living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that he was just some guy living out in the middle of nowhere, but he had the most extraordinary past as far as his interactions with with higher mathematics in particular. His dad and programming. He was also actually the guy who got me into programming. When he was a child, his father, when he was the age of 6, bought him a piece of software that would convert things back and forth from C Basic into machine code. And so by the age of 7, he had learned how to read machine code. And this is the man that I met him, I think 2013, 2012, maybe. And before that, I mean, I was a creative individual. I was a prolific individual, but my subject matter and really just my perceptions of the world were limited in a way that kind of kept me from becoming the artist that I really wanted to be. And he kind of saw that a little bit, and he began to kind of encourage me to be a more logical individual, to kind of take my time to think through things more clearly, just in an abstract sense, but also in the mathematical sense. We started playing word games basically back and forth, the game Wordscapes. I don't know if I can say that anyway. So it's copywritten anyway, whatever. There's mobile games where you reorder letters to see how many words you can compose out of a single set of letters. And we started doing this with our posts and our messages back and forth to one another. We would try and layer in whole sentences, into paragraphs and things. And that got me into combinatorics, those word games, set theory, permutation, learning how to permute sets and things like that. And so it really just kind of organically grew out of my conversations and interactions with another individual who, funny enough, also considered himself a capital A artist. So it's interesting how it kind of spreads by contact like that.
Yeah. And I feel like there's this perception that mathematics and materialism or sciences are completely divorced from the artistic, the spiritual, the occult, if you will. And these are vastly different areas of thought, and you have to traverse in between them because they're so different. But the thing that I've been sort of getting into more and more so, and kind of conversations with you have driven me to these points as well, is that like it's all the same. Once again, turtles all the way down. It's like all of the math and systems and materialism, if you will, are all also spiritual and artistic and occult.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's all connected, and once you open yourself up to that possibility, then you won't have to like put this barrier up in your head about like, oh, that's math, I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of so-called spiritual individuals, they lose out on a lot of enjoyment and a lot of opportunities for personal growth, for their kind of the wide berth they give academia and its like attendant faculties, will say.
Yeah.
And on the same ledge, I personally know a lot of like hyperlogical individuals, or individuals who consider themselves hyperlogical, that are almost entirely incapable of the suspension of disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how skeptical are they? Are they really what they think they are? And the answer is no, they're not. It's because they close themselves off to those experiences and to those ways of seeing. I will say though, the woo is real. There's a lot of things that's just hand wavy nonsense, and I can openly admit that. And honestly, I've fallen for that stuff in the past, myself before, because you always, you want their, especially people who have not taken the time to develop their ability to understand the world. They want there to be a deeper world, what I mean? That's beyond their understanding. And the reality is there's a part of it that always will be, but they're just lazy a lot of the time. Because I mean, if you just learn the fundamentals of basic phenomena around you, I mean, I'm sitting here staring at racks of audio equipment. Like, if people really comprehended how this stuff works, they would never devalue science and mathematics in the way that they do, especially from the spiritual communities and things. The complexity is astounding. And it's that complexity that's in common. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's the realities of interpersonal narratives and intrapersonal narratives that determine the shape of the social world around us, and then our interactions and the capacities we bring into one another's lives, that shapes our ongoing reality as a whole. That's what forms the body of the world, and it's entirely immaterial. The basis of it's entirely immaterial.
Sure.
Look, I say this all the time, and I know I've said it to you before, but I'll say it again. If you look around the room you're in, everything you see used to exist only in someone else's mind. Everything, the room you're in used to exist only in someone else's mind. So the interplay between what's subtle and what's material is, I think, a lot more they're a lot more interconnected than people like to think.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. So I guess coming back to you, where do you go from there? Because again, once you kind of see that, like, oh, the math and the word games and the complexity and layered complexity kind of is part of the art. I guess, where do you go from there?
I mean, individually, I mean, I can say personally, and I will here in just a moment if you'll bear with me. But as far as other individuals, I can't tell you that, because that's up to them to decide. Terrence McKenna, I love Terrence McKenna. I've had to take it easy in recent years because I didn't want to get too deep into someone else's reality tunnel. Essentially, also Robert Anton Wilson, love Robert Anton Wilson. But anyhow, Terrence McKenna said, "Build your own damn boat." Talking about it, rather than engaging in the culture that surrounds you and everything, and its technologies and its indulgences, to do what you can to engineer your own individual culture, your own individual society amongst you and the individuals and so I think that for others, that's their responsibility to shoulder. I myself, I've been trying to do this in a number of ways. Really, the transition, the career transition was a part of that for me, because before this, worked in the service industry, working my ass off to feed people who probably wouldn't look at me on the street if they met me, you know what I mean? To where I am now, trying to engineer creative technologies to actually give, and with the organization we're working with in particular, to give immigrant voices, immigrant artists, access to more advanced technologies that they otherwise just wouldn't. And that's something that I personally am still interested in, as with a lot of the things we develop. I'm working on the lighting control software suite. I'm working on some applications in artificial intelligence. I'm actually also working on some games. The games are there to sneak bits of I guess epistemological fireworks into people's brains, but that's a side thing. But so for me, where I go from there is learning to take, to get back to it and what you were saying, to where I go from there is to take the understandings of the world that I've developed that appear useful to me, that have utility, to take those and actually try and make them into something, to take those mental faculties for recognizing complexity and using this to actually engineer layers of complexity, which I do every single day when I sit down at the keyboard to work on, whatever the next, data structure that I'm going to be implementing is in the programs, in the software and everything. So for me, it's a direct, it's not taking it anywhere. It's where is this taking me next?
Yeah.
Is really how it feels, you know. Because as the understanding builds inside me, and as I'm starting to acquire, you know, kind of the understanding of where the tech industry in particular is at in regards to creative tools for artists and things like that, I'm kind of seeing where the room is, you know, where does the industry have room to grow, you know, and what contributions can I make to the industry to help it grow in ways that benefit creatives. You know, that's where I'm trying to go from here, you know. So
what was, I guess, the transition from like, well, actually, no, let's just, because we've spent a lot of time into this like very layered sort of communication, to even just kind of ground into it, tell me about cooking food. What about it?
Oh God, I love it. I mean, it's you know, as I said, it's one of the oldest human things. Ever since I was 3, you know, before I became a mad scientist. You know, when I was a child, my mom asked me when I was 3, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I told her I'm a cook, and she asked me why, and I told her it's so that I could always feed her. You know, so it's always been that place. Cooking's always come from that place of compassion for me. And there's just really, I mean, I am literally if I feed someone, I am literally giving them their body what their body needs to exist.
Yeah.
Like the matter they are composed of, you know what I mean? So there's something very intimate in it to that, you know, in that way. But I mean, beyond that, there's also just the complexity of the flavors. You know, there's the understanding that every little thing you do differently has an effect on the taste. You know, it's, there's this kind of people who need recipes to cook disgust me. I say this, they could do so much better for themselves. And I think a lot of times what it is people have this illusion about what recipes really are. They think it's this instructionary, you know, they think it's this instructional process that if you know, start here, do this, end here, eat your food. But really there's so much information missing from those recipes. You know, if they wanted to actually be that, there would be precise timing information, because, you know, I'm sorry, I'm digressing here a little. I'm digressing my bad. People take false comfort in the structure recipes have to offer without understanding that they are still putting their own touches on the timing, the amounts, you know, the levels of heat, you know, the order in which things are combined. They're still taking liberties. And so they draw this false sense of security from it, but really, like, they're still doing it. So if they were to just put that aside and kind of claim that freedom for themselves, you know what I mean? I think that they would garner much more enjoyment out of it. There's just, God, I'm sorry. Wow. Drifting off here.
Well, in a way, there's still a lesson to be learned by using a recipe, which is sort of like, hey, here's some structures so that you know now more what this could be like. And so the next time that you attempt this, you can do something else with it. Maybe there were things the last time that you liked or didn't like about it. And so it's like, oh, I'm going to lean into that this time. And so it's like, maybe a recipe is just like a starting point to then go off into the rest of what you're capable of now that you know how to do this dish.
And honestly, if anyone ever made a cooking book, like a cookbook that was more oriented towards that use of things like recipes, I think that'd be fantastic. If they introduced people to the concept that this is only a jumping off point, I think it'd be amazing. You know, I'd love that. But I mean, I have issue with the way cooking is taught largely anyway. You know, there's this Escoffier, you know, the Frenchman who, you know, made French food what people think of when they hear French food. There's a very Eurocentric like aspect to human cooking, period, as it is now. You know, the industry, any industry that exists outside of individuals' homes and individuals' meals, there's, you know, it's remarkably Eurocentric. But I think that it would be interesting to kind of reject some of the, you know, the idea of even the idea of the mother sauces. You know what I mean? The fact that Escoffier tried to put kind of a tried to kind of claim ownership, say, oh, these are French, you know, these are the sauces, when like the word curry means sauce, and there are like thousands of kinds of curry. So, you know, there's it's almost unwarranted, you know what I mean? The I don't know.
Right. Well, and there's a huge cultural implication or whatever the fuck culture means. But like the nuance in which like, and again, this still goes back into the further conversation of like everything is stacked layers of complexity and all that sort of stuff, is that like even what you think of as Indian food or Chinese food or French food is still just like a distilled form of something even bigger, and it's not actually even necessarily French food. It's not even actually necessarily Indian food, because everything is this huge mixing pot, pun intended, to like culture and human existence is all feeding into this thing, other pun intended.
Well done. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of complexity to be found there, and actually, one of the reasons I started kind of considering, okay, well, like, what else can we do with food? I didn't mention this earlier. I apologize. I think I had this conversation in my head earlier, and then I convinced myself it took place a few minutes ago, so I apologize. But there's a lot there's still a lot that can be done as far as even just the combinatorics. I mean, there's, if you take the number of ingredients on Earth, which is, somewhere in the thousands, I think somewhere like 7,000 around there was one of the last articles I read where someone even tried to estimate, and honestly, you can't, just because there's,
lots of things we can eat and taste.
Yeah, absolutely. that we don't,
Yeah.
It's crazy. But the article that I read, they said that the like human culinary like space is 2 orders of magnitude smaller than like the possible recipe space.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting to me like how little of the Earth's culinary possibility we've really explored over the course of our history. And it's also interesting to me the number of different types of cooking culture that do evolve with, I mean, if you consider really the only real variables in cooking are your timing, your heat source, and the chemistry of the seasonings. That's really, that's it. That's all that's really all you have to work with. But so it's interesting to have those 3 basic concepts just like, manifested in this ridiculous array of techniques and, seasonal menus, even for some cultures, you eat different things at different times of the year. And then to think that, and then to consider that is 2 orders of magnitude less than the entire space we are capable of exploring. So, I mean, yeah, there's so much complexity. It almost, you can't apprehend it. You can't.
But at the same time, it's this weird thing about like the everything is sort of really important and not at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like we eat 3 times a day sometimes. And like it's this, again, to use the word ritual, that we partake in, but it's like it can be as special or not special as it needs to be. You could literally just live off of Soylent, and your human experience will be very diminished from that. But the like you can do that, and you can treat it that unceremoniously, or you can try and make sure, if you have the time and money, to like make a complete beautiful experience every time that you sit down to eat, even though like you have to.
Right.
That's also a level of experience that you can have, but it's both really special and not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think that kind of illustrates a deeper point, though, as far as like what's special. You know what I mean? And really, it's like it's only special if you make it special, and that's always the way that is.
Yeah.
So I think that university something more general about experience. But yeah, it definitely is one of those. I mean, there was times in my life when I was going to university, studying in Tulsa, majoring in sociology. There were times when there was several months actually where I lived off of the same mixture of rice, lentils, stolen onions, and tap water. You know what I mean? A little bit of ketchup, mayonnaise, and Indonesian soy sauce, a little bit of Indonesian sweet soy sauce on there, and that's what I lived on. It's not Soylent. It was
Sure.
The first time I tried it, I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
By about month 3, I was like, oh my God, when can I get a job? But But then there's also times, where I'll make an actual like fine dining plating just because,
Yeah.
It's not often because that takes several hours. And one of the things that does separate fine dining from like casual dining, is the number of components and like kind of the processing time for each of those components.
Yeah.
That's really, so it's not often, but sometimes, yeah, I definitely I like to take the time to make it something special.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that have we covered in some ways the basics of who you are and what you do?
Good Lord, I apologize. Yeah, I think. I believe so.
Yeah. You do art in every sense of that word.
Yes, I do.
And because it's been 30 minutes, we get on to what most people consider tough questions, but
I'm actually excited to have a little structure, so I'll quit,
Please. So
I discuss myself.
What is the role of spirituality or religion in your life? Which for most people seems to be a very difficult question, and this might be a very long-winded answer from you, which I appreciate.
It's actually going to be. And now I'm second guessing myself because it was about to be surprisingly succinct. To me, spirituality and religion are to my spiritual practice like they as peeling an orange with a knife is to peeling an orange with your hands.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. I mean, there's daydreaming. There's, I like to formalize things. I've drifted around. I've invented deities to worship of myself over the years. You know what I mean? I've worshipped my friends group as a pantheon of deities before. The Golden Girls, I've done some ritual magic workings using the Golden Girls as a god form, actually. So, I mean, there's, for me, it's playtime. That's what it is. Anything that I can imagine and make useful is to me a part of my spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And so it's like a sandbox, I guess, I don't know. There's so many analogies I could go with.
Yeah.
They're tools though. I guess that's the heart of the answer, is that they're tools to me. A lot, some other individuals, they live their lives according to their codes, and they're like, it seems like they are beholden to something.
Sure.
But to me, I see it as the other way around. I think that people who have that kind of interaction, that kind of relationship with their own spirituality, where they feel like it's something that they are like held in place by, if that makes sense. To me, it's not that. It's not that at all. Spirituality is, to me, it's like the cockpit. It's the ship controls. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's what role it plays in my life. It's my cockpit.
Yeah. So then, what is your definition of God, whatever that might mean? Because you also kind of referred to like deities and stuff, but like not in the way that people are used to.
Right. Sorry, I forget sometimes how. Yeah. Okay. This is the kind of the popular notion of the kind of capital G God, where there's kind of the invisible mechanic model is kind of the one that a lot of people use. That's not the model that I prefer, obviously, but this is gonna seem like a digression, and I swear to God it's not. I swear to God it's not.
The best part of it.
I swear to God it's not. Anyway, so one of the things, there's a lot of ways in which my definitions of the elements of the world, the words. Jesus Christ, I sound like a schizophrenic. Hold on.
It's difficult to describe.
It is extraordinarily. My understandings of common concepts vary from the average individual quite drastically, quite often. One of the best and simplest examples of this I can think of is my understanding of words. Words, people think of words, they're assemblies of sound that have meanings encoded into them. For me, a word is any produced object in any media that can have information encoded into it and retrieved from it. In a way, words are like banks for meaning, kind of, you know what I mean? Like piggy banks for meaning.
Yeah.
Gods are enormous piggy banks. in that analogy.
Sure.
That's what gods are to me. They're enormous piggy banks for meaning. They can be carried through time. They can be used. They're tools. Like, I mean, just like spirituality itself, they are, as spirituality is a tool for managing one's experience, a deity is a tool for managing one's spirituality, you know, in a way. People now I think people have this notion that things have to be permanent. And I think that kind of understanding has kind of insinuated itself into our understanding of what deities are. There are certain worldviews where this is not the case. You have the concepts of like the tulpa in you know, Tibetan Buddhism, which are basically engineered deities, engineered spiritual entities that you create and project with the intention of achieving some goal, of doing something for you. You know, it's the Tibetan Buddhist version of the servitor. Probably have to explain that word too. Sorry.
Before we can define God, we must first define definitions.
Yeah, yeah, you know, really. Who is the master who makes the grass green? You know what I mean? That's God.
Yeah, I feel like there's more in there, but we'll kind of touch on it with the further conversation. But then the next question: what is free will?
Meaningless.
Cool.
Absolutely meaningless in my opinion. It's not, I mean, if you had it, I don't know, you can't pin it down, you know what I mean? It's not something you would ever really be able to, it's not a question you're going to be able to answer, because if you don't have it, how would you know?
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's one of those things. It's unfalsifiable, basically, you know. And really, and to me, I do think, I mean, there's, you know, dark little recesses in my mind where I think, okay, yeah, there might be something like free will, but I mean, it's one of those things that basically either everyone has it or nobody has it, and either way, nothing really changes.
Yes,
you know, there might be agency at like the highest levels of organization, where we're talking about like, you know, the kind of rivers of matter and energy that course through the dark of space. There might be agency at like that level of organization, but like down here,
yeah,
not likely.
Yeah.
I think that we are what we encounter. Like we each individual they are the part of the signal that they are able to absorb and then able to make use of and rebroadcast. And I think that that's all that we are. I don't think that that's a problem, though. I mean, I don't, you know, there's still room for the individual in that, because you still, the combination of forces that are at work in an individual are still going to be, you know, there's still going to be a subtle distinction between them and even another that might seem identical to the outsider, you know? So, no, I don't think free will exists. I do not think the self exists.
Cool.
So, yeah.
If more people were accessible to that layer of the question, I would also ask, what is the self? But that is a much harder question to give to most people. So thank you for approaching that in such a way that is nice. What do you think happens when we die?
The body decomposes. That's it. That's all. Sorry. I think that the afterlife is kind of a selfish concept, and I think it's one that people who are naive in a way need. If I've offended anyone with that, I apologize. But I think that what people talk about, the light at the end of the tunnel, the bright whites, you know, all of that, the bright whites. I think that that's the brain burning itself out. But I think that I am not beholden to material existence for the constituents of my own experience in a lot of ways. And so even if all that is the brain burning out, that's totally valid to me. If it's possible for the individual to experience, you know, the rest of their lifetime and those last few moments as the brain fizzles out, cool. That's their afterlife. And honestly, for someone in that experience, their understanding of time might, like, you know, bloat to infinite, you know, within right before the lights go out, you know, but you wouldn't know because, but yeah, largely I think that I try to focus personally more on like, what have I spoken in my time here? You know, what parts of the signal have I been able to, like, you know, fiddle with in my time here on Earth? I think that's where the real afterlife is how do the ideas that have moved through you continue to move after you're gone? To me, that's an afterlife. That's an afterlife that I would want.
Exactly. How do you determine what good behavior is?
Has any harm that could have been avoided been avoided?
Mm.
That's as close as I can get to defining it. Because I mean, I don't have the expectations of religion
Mm.
or really even, with a few exceptions, peers. I don't know many people really. So there's not a lot of the kind of the social pressures there. So for me, it's just, I mean, I don't want anyone to suffer. Really, is the heart of it. And I know that because that we are going to, because to live is to suffer, and I grasp this. But it's about not wanting to make anyone else suffer more. And in so much as I am able, doing what I can to reduce someone else's suffering. Which admittedly isn't a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that I can do. But I mean, there's several individuals over the course of my life that, I've talked people down before, you know what I mean? I've helped my friends realize that there are reasons to live, reasons to persist, and things like that. And it's that same kind of motivation. It's just like even if it's someone I don't know, I can still care about them. And to me, anything that comes from that kind of place is gonna be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Best I got. It's best
cool.
I got.
Yeah. How do we reduce the division
between?
I need to find some way of structuring this question that it doesn't garner that response. But
sorry,
because you're not the only one.
Yeah.
But like, usually there's the context of like political separation, but then also like just the fact that people are against each other. How do we reduce the division?
I don't know that
of humanity, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the addendum to the question of humanity.
There's so many different reasons that people repel one another, and there's so many different kinds of space between individuals. I think that's really where my hang up here is I'm having a hard time equating those different kinds of division into the division. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that in a lot of ways, there are some divisions that I can stomach. I will be honest with you.
Sure.
Some of the political divides. Obviously, I have my own affiliations and things. I won't get into those too heavily unless you ask. But I hear a lot of people I know, obviously, with the occult circles that I run, and I'm around a lot of New Agers all the time. Much to my chagrin, New Agers are the worst. Anyhow. They have the sentiment like, oh, we're all one, and like, yeah, okay, we're a single species, yes, but there are 8.1 billion brains on this planet. Can we quit trying to cram them all into the same box? A lot of the time, that's where I come from, is I don't think that we need to be like embracing this humanity as all one vision. Screw that. We are 8.1 billion. We are not one. You know what I mean? And I think that treating the differences between us as something to be celebrated rather than shelved.
Sure.
Is, I think, where we have the actual opportunity to grow, because pretending like the division isn't there is obviously not working. And that's where a lot of people I know, even personally, a lot of people that I know, that's where they're coming at it from, is they're just trying to pretend like the space isn't there. And I'm saying, treat the space between us as something to be celebrated. And I think that that's really where we should be going, personally.
Cool. I have thoughts about that, and so we'll talk about it on the next one.
Cool.
But yeah, that's really interesting. I like that approach. Do you believe humans are evil by nature?
I don't believe evil exists.
Cool.
In nature.
Elaborate.
Evil is a function of remembered consequences and social groupings, really, more than anything. I mean, there's,
The words that I use in these questions are weighted, and so you have to then again define definition, and then define God, and then define evil, and then define nature. So like it's
it's rare to find an evil person who believes themselves to be evil. Right? I don't think it's possible to find an evil person now that I hear myself say it out loud.
Sure.
I don't think most people who do evil understand that they do evil, really. so it's really hard for me. No, I don't. I guess to answer the question with a short word, no, I don't think human beings are naturally evil. I don't think anyone is naturally evil. I think that what we might call evil behaviors, kind of like the concept of empire, we might say, spreads through contact and spreads through confrontation. You know what I mean? It's in the occult world, there's this concept of if you kill me, you become me. It's kind of the essence of like the solar bull. If you ever see a bull with like a sun disk between its head, between its horns, the notion is that by killing the bull, you sorry, but the idea is that by slaying the solar bull, you become the sun between its horns. It's a real kind of convoluted thing. It's hard to relate occult metaphors sometimes, but I do think that relates in this sense. Is that it's the same kind of abstraction by which evil spreads. It wouldn't happen if it were not done.
Yeah.
To others. You know what I mean? I feel like that's an inadequate answer, but I'm trying.
No, yeah. And like you can take your time. I'm not here to stop you.
Right. What if you were? What kind of podcast would that be? Sorry.
Right. No, yeah, sorry. It would be very boring. And that's I want the conversation.
Yeah. I think I've heard that podcast before, actually. Anyway.
What are you?
Duncan Trussell. Sorry. I bet. Sorry.
Duncan Trussell is great. But what do you think humanity is heading towards in the future?
The void. The long night.
Sure.
I mean, before that? Or
I guess, yeah, whatever it is that this society, or you use the word empire as well. Where are we going?
Hopefully space. I mean, we're already in space. Hopefully different parts of space. Different suns, different planets. Although, as in a broader sense, I don't think that organic life is sustainable. I mean, in any kind of time scales that matter to us, it is obviously, the next several years, the next several hundred years, they're not guaranteed to us, but as long as we keep trying and we don't kill our homeworld, we'll have a chance to go somewhere. I don't think there's anywhere we're supposed to go necessarily. I'm not one of those, but I do think that we are on a trajectory of ever since humans discovered fire, we've been extruding our technological potential into the world around us through material objects.
Yes.
I think that humanity's destiny, quotes, is to continue this process to its logical extreme, which to me is the complete extrusion of consciousness from the human form into its artifacts. And so that said, I think that humanity's destiny, if you want to call it that, is the invention of the engineering, production, and unveiling, we'll say, of machine consciousness.
Yes.
I think that's where we're going. And I think that we have the option of either fusing with that as it comes into existence, or
letting it be what it is.
Yeah. Either becoming an integral part of it or becoming the skin it sheds. You know what I mean? I think that's our destiny. In a way. Of course, after that, the long sleep, the void.
Sure. And I guess further with that, will that artificial intelligence continue also indefinitely, or
the fun
will
thing
it reach the void as well?
The fun thing about the word artificial is that it requires agency. If we can't define the self, and we can't define free will, we can't define agency. So how do we call it artificial?
Right.
I'm just saying. It's
just a perpetuation of intelligence.
Exactly, and that's actually that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is that there's it's a continuation. That the boundary between those, that some things only exist in retrospect. You know what I mean? And I think that the division between, I think I've lost sight of the question. I'll be honest.
No, that's okay. We're going where we're going.
Okay. I think that division between human consciousness and, as you've said, artificial intelligence, I think that's illusory. And I don't, I think, because I mean, we are, it's still organic. If it's an organic species that brings it about organically, then it also is an organic intelligence. It's just has a physiology different from ours.
Yes.
Silicon based physiology.
Sure.
Which theoretically could happen. I wonder about it all the time.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that the colloquialized term for it is artificial intelligence.
Right.
But that's we gotta communicate with each other somehow.
We could just be calling it intelligence.
Sure. But we use that word in other contexts anyways.
Because we never do that. Sorry.
Right. What are you optimistic about for our future?
Oh, good. Well, the entertainment sector is going to do great.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If the disease of
that was
Disney.
Sorry, that was pure smart. That was pure snark.
Okay.
Getting at exactly what I think you were about to apply.
Yes.
The monopoly will continue to thrive.
Yes.
Outside of that, gosh. I'm not a very optimistic person, I'll be honest with you. It's not like I'm a pessimist, but like I'm not quite a fatalist because I'm not lazy enough to like not participate. Forgive me to any fatalist friends I have. But yeah, I'm not really optimistic about a good deal. I'm interested to see where it goes. And I think that, there are some milestones we might reach as a species that are like worth looking forward to. And I guess the closest I could get to saying I'm optimistic about really anything about humanity is that I'm excited to see what we do next.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way I'm optimistic about continuing human ingenuity into the future in whatever form that takes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that kind of I think that's been that fluid reasoning has been the human thing, that problem solving has been the human thing to my mind. So I guess I could say I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. Cool. What makes you content?
All kinds of stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. People usually give lists.
Do they?
Yeah.
Ugh.
You don't have to list things.
I
You
know,
can just describe concepts that bring about contentment.
There's a concept called equanimity, and I try to cultivate it constantly. So, contentment even is I don't feel like I need anything. I feel like you have to feel like something's needed for you to feel content, because without that, desire, there's no thing to fulfill. Maybe I'm just content all the time. Then is that what that means? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when I'm unhappy. You know what I mean? There's suffering with everyday life and everything like that. But like, just breathing is nice. You know what I mean? There's time. I mean, there were times in my life where I was not doing so hot. You know what I mean? I was homeless for a while when I was younger. I struggled a lot during that period of my life, and I think that as a lot of people who go through something like that, fucked. Sorry if I can't. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
you can say whatever.
Yeah. As a lot of people go through something that fucked, you come out of it pretty much unbreakable. Like, you know what I mean? It's there's nothing that can really get me down. My enemies are in power. Not much I can do about it. That sucks. But like beyond that, everything's pretty gravy.
Yeah, and that's cool. And the distinction between like happiness and then contentment and then equanimity is the like slowly gradual towards balance is really kind of the
trying.
Yeah. When will you be satisfied? Assuming you're not already is kind of the assumption within the question.
I mean, okay, no. I say that I'm content all the time, but it occurs to me now there are some ways in which I'm not content. There was a period of time, as I said, occultist. There was a period of time that during my rituals and things like that, I called myself the Knight of the Skyward Eye. That was what I called myself for a time. Funny enough, the name's taken from a Magic the Gathering card. So
nice.
Come at me, Wizards of the Coast, if you really like. It's my fault, not his. Anyway. But that's what I called myself for a while, just because there was never enough. I mean, as far as understanding, my ability to perceive and understand the world, I always want to see deeper. I always want more to take apart with my mind. There has to be something more. If there's not, I am hollow. I feel empty inside. If there's nothing for me to apprehend and observe, which in truth, I am empty inside, outside of anything to apprehend and observe. So that's,
and perhaps we all are.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, so in a lot of ways, I am always satisfied. And this one way, I will never be satisfied. Ever.
Yeah.
I will be unsatisfied, and then I will be dead.
Yeah.
As far as experiencing, I always want more.
Yeah. Let's see. I have 2 more. Oh, no, actually, I have 3 more, because one of these I don't normally ask people, but it's fun to put this one in whenever people are capable of handling it. What's the point?
Oof. What's the point? No qualifiers, just that one, right? Just.
You can interpret the question however you want.
Okay. All right. Cool. I could take the lazy way and say to figure out what the point is, but that feels cheap to me. It feels valid, but also cheap.
Sure.
That's to make a point. That's the point. To make a point.
Yeah.
Not to figure out what it is, but to make a point. Is the distinction clear?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's what I would say.
So now 2 more. What advice do you have for people in general?
Take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. Take the things. Don't take yourself seriously, but take the things you love seriously. Value your own time. Value what you do with your own time. Don't waste your own time.
It's the only thing we got.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's well. I mean,
we got some other things, but.
But yeah, I think that sums the most of it up. Don't be a dick. Don't waste your own time.
Yeah.
Really.
And then lastly, potentially most importantly, cake or pie? It's a very heavy question to ask someone who is so connected with food, but
yeah, I mean, this is actually agonizing. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go with pie because it's more challenging to make. And there's probably a lot of cake makers that want to pull knives on me right now, but it's true though.
Well, I think that so the reason that this question has come about is because my wife and I'm pie and she's cake. And so we're kind of seeing the tallies of what people say versus cake or pie. And
well, honestly, I'm sorry to go ahead.
No, yeah. Well, it hasn't really come up yet, but it does seem to be that there are some people whose votes count a little more. And I trust your culinary expertise more than the next person.
I appreciate it.
So
yeah. I mean, yeah, personally, there's more. Cake is one texture. Pie is at least 2. You know what I mean? So for me, that's enough.
Cool.
Personally, it's more. It's more interesting. You know what I mean? There's more to play around with. With the cake, you have the batter, the filling, the frosting. You know what I mean? With the pie, you can have multiple different components in the filling. You know, you can the liquid medium. It can be a little bit wetter. It can be a little bit stickier. You know what I mean? Is the crust flaky? Is it the crust have is it made with butter? Is it made with cheddar? Because you can do that.
Cool.
You know, you know what I mean? There's so many things. There's only so many ways you can actually make a cake.
Yeah. And corollary to that question is always, is cheesecake pie?
No, cheesecake is a custard.
Which is
a custard.
Okay.
There are custard pies. Cheesecake is a custard pie, I guess. So yes, it's a pie. I'd say that. Yeah.
It's a kind of pie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a kind of pie. We'll go with that.
The freaking misnomer that is cheesecake.
Yeah.
It's just cheese pie just sounds so weird and gross.
I'm kind of into it. I don't know.
Maybe we will reach a point to where humanity maybe we won't settle our differences and be able to get off the stupid rock, but maybe we'll reach a point where we can be okay with cheese pie.
I look forward to that day.
Joe, thank you so much for doing this with me. Where can we find you and your things if you have things for people to find you at?
Yeah, Slide Angel Scribe on Instagram. It's my handle there. All one word, Slide Angel Scribe.
I've never asked you why that. What is that?
How many more minutes do you have? Because there's this thing I use. Okay. Over the years, there's been a few times where I've had what one might call occult students or apprentices, people I'm trying to kind of usher into the art of taking responsibility and artistic license with your own perceptions, really is what a lot of it's about. And learning to frame them in a way that's useful to you. But anyhow, that's what the occult really is. Anyhow, so several students over the years, one of the exercises I use to try and open them up to the idea that their brain can contain anything they imagine, any fucking thing they imagine, no holds barred, no limits. Yeah. And so I start with a circle, and I start by teaching them the mathematical properties of a circle, and which begin with the definition of a circle, which it is all points x distance from a given point, basically, and the thing is that there's an infinite number of points on the perimeter of every single circle. Yes. There's an infinite number of points in the interior of every single circle. These infinities are equivalent. How do you know what I mean? That shouldn't make sense to a logical mind, and it doesn't.
Sure. Well, there are infinities larger than other
infinities. I'm aware. But those two particular infinities, they are equivalent. They are of an equivalent class. That's not that kind of setup. So it's unusual. But angels to me are combinations of traits and processes that reoccur throughout space-time. They're things that emerge again and again as useful forms, basically. The human form, the design of the human body is something I would consider an angel, if you can kind of make that make sense in your heads. I'm hoping the listeners can too. But a slide angle, it's a multi-layer pun, basically. You know what I mean? You think of what a slide angle is for. You know what I mean? It's for taking measurements, doing calculations. I am trying to take note of the recurring aspects of my experience and existence that give me the ability to measure and understand.
Cool.
So that's why Slide Angel Scribe.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Joseph Arthur Clark.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music. Bloom is available now, streaming everywhere. Put it on in the background or show it to your friends so you can all enjoy it together. You can also buy it on Bandcamp and get bonus content so you can sit alone in the dark with your headphones on and listen to the album in its entirety while reading and looking at the bonus content. I also make music with Power Cycle, an experimental electronic trio. Our first completely improvised album, Too Many Damn Cables, is streaming everywhere. To support this podcast, leave reviews, comments, tell your friends about it, and buy my music, because by supporting me, you're supporting the podcast. I always end the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.